1 minute. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tablelands Regional Council Ordinary Meeting for the 30th of April. Do we have any apologies? I have an apology from Greg Bowden, our General Manager of Placemaking. And I also forgot to mention, just check that your devices are either turned off or on to silent, please. Could I ask everyone to be upstanding? I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet on today, to pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. We'll now observe a minute's silence as a mark of respect for the members of our community who have recently passed. We wish their family and friends peace and comfort during this challenging time. Thank you. Councillors, item 6, declarations of any interest by councillors or senior council officers. Councillors, I do have a declaration with regards to item 11.2, asset divestment, outcomes of due diligence. I'd like to advise council that my wife, Junko Martin, previously held a volunteer executive role with the Atherton QCWA, and today I'd like council to consider whether it gives rise to a declarable conflict of interest. I took advice from the CEO and General Counsel, and we believe this is perhaps showing an abundance of caution, but being the Mayor, it's important that we make sure we cover every scenario. So just by way of background, while I'll be declaring this interest for councillors to consider, I would actually like to participate in the discussion and voting on this matter, as any potential conflict has, in my opinion, dissipated in recent years. By way of some short background, my wife was a volunteer member of the executive of the Atherton branch of the QCWA before resigning in June 2023. My wife remains a member of the Atherton branch of the QCWA, and this in of itself is not a declarable conflict of interest. My wife is not in a position to influence any decision making by the Atherton branch of the QCWA, noting that item 11.2 is not a decision of the Atherton QCWA. And finally, no decision is being made by Council in relation to the storage shed at this meeting, only that Council officers progress to undertake community engagement with relevant stakeholders. I'll now hand over to the Deputy Mayor for Council to deliberate on that.
Councillors, the Mayor's raised a declarable conflict of interest in item 11.2, specifically in relation to the Atherton QCWA storage shed. Can I get your thoughts on whether this does give rise to a conflict? Councillors?
I don't see any conflict at all, declarable or not.
Councillors?
So typically she no longer has the role she's responsible for.
Been a few years, yeah.
It's been a number of years, is that correct?
She's not on the executive committee, is my understanding, since June 23.
Yeah.
There was a notation that his wife is not in a position to influence any decisions now, just a voluntary member. The other point of note is no decision is being made by Council in relation to the storage shed at this meeting. All as it would mean is that officers progress with their communications with relevant stakeholders. Any other comments, councillors?
No.
Okay. That being the case, have we got someone to move an option? Option 1 is there is no conflict of interest. Option 2 is there is a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest does exist and the councillor must leave. Well, the third option is conflict of interest does exist, but the councillor may participate.
I'll move 3.
3 being conflict of interest does exist.
But may participate.
Sorry,
But may participate.
councillor may participate. So that's been moved by councillor Lang. Do we have a seconder for option 3?
Sorry, just to clarify on option 3, it's got prescribed or declarable. Are you saying, which one of those are you saying?
It's a declarable.
Declarable, yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
there's, yeah. Nothing, it's just.
For you guys to talk a bit louder because none of us can hear anything.
Yep, sorry, apologies for that.
No,
Yeah.
just everybody.
We're just saying that we do believe he does have a declarable conflict of interest, so we're happy for him to participate though.
So we've got a mover in councillor Lang. We've got a seconder. Councillor Hayden. Those in favour of option 3? That's 5-1. Carried. Mayor, I'll hand back to you. You will be able to attend the vote, but we have noted a declarable conflict of interest.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, if people up the back can't hear, there still are some spare seats closer to the front.
You know, I'm happy to sit here. I just would like us to talk a bit louder because it's not just me who's saying that they can hear you. So just raise your voice a little bit.
Yeah, it's a big room. We'll do our best.
Understand that?
Okay, councillors, that brings us to item 7. 7.1, confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 19th of March. Do we have a mover and seconder that those minutes be accepted as a true and accurate record? Councillor Bilney moving. Councillor Spanos seconding. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Item 7.2, confirmation of the minutes special meeting of the 9th of April. Do we have a mover and seconder that those minutes be accepted as a true and accurate record? Councillor Barty's moving and Councillor Hayden seconding. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. And finally, 7.3, confirmation of the minutes. Again, a special meeting on the 9th of April, with 2 meetings on that day. Do we have a mover and seconder of the second meeting of the 9th of April? Councillor Bilney, and seconder, Councillor Barty. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Okay, now, business arising. So, of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 19th of March, the business arising from the 19th of March, we have one here. Councillor Kaji raised a question on notice regarding the progress with investigating the implementation of a new pressure cleaning unit. It was requested that a detailed councillor information session with councillors be held. And that was held on the 8th of April. Did you have any further questions on that one?
No.
Councillor Curran? Thank you. Were there any matters arising from the floor? No, thank you. Any matters arising from the special meetings? Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our delegations now. So could I ask that Tina Edwards comes forward to do her presentation?
Good morning, Mayor, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Tina Edwards and I stand here today as a concerned resident and community member. I'm here regarding the proposed divestment of community assets by council, including 144 publicly listed assets and a reported additional 260 assets that have not yet been disclosed to the public. This is not just about toilets, pools and buildings. This is about process, accountability and trust. Right now, the community does not trust that these decisions are being made transparently, fairly or with proper consultation. We are being asked to accept the loss of the community assets without being given the full picture. We are told that there are another 260 being considered for divestment. So the question is simple. Why hasn't council released the full list? If the Malanda Pavilion is a low-hanging fruit, along with the 44 on the present list, then what is the next 260 to be divested? Halls, clubhouses, picture theatres? How can communities respond or propose alternatives if they do not even know what is at risk? Transparency should not be optional. Please release this list now. What concerns people most is not just divestment, it's the pattern that leads up to it. We have seen this before. The Malanda Pavilion, maintenance was not done, repairs recommendations were not acted on, and eventually it was declared unsafe and for removal. Mount Carter Pool, again, maintenance was not carried out, and the community lost a vital facility. This creates a real concern. Assets are being allowed to deteriorate until removal becomes the only option. That is not sustainable management. That is avoidable loss. And importantly, this is not just a future concern. Closures are already happening. In February, I wrote to the CEO raising concerns, and I was told my letter was premature, but clearly that is not the case. Before proper consultation, we note that the amenities have already been closed, including Rotary Park at Priors Creek, Vernon Street amenities, and the disabled toilets at the Information Centre rarely open. And we also noted that the amenities opposite the Humpy are mostly locked. These are all used community facilities, with people telling me they are having to use the toilet to go in the bush. This is not acceptable when there are facilities already available now, which the community helped to fund. The Tableland Regional Council has pushed forward with redevelopment of the Priors Creek parkland, but they've managed to overlook a basic human necessity. The replacement toilets at Priors Creek are well over 500 metres from the town centre, and well over this for people visiting businesses on Maple Street. This is a massive failure in planning by the council. I also remind council that I lodged a notice of liability on the 31st of March this year regarding the Vernon Street toilets to the CEO. These liabilities are infringement of the Anti-Discrimination Act 1991, violation of the Disability Discrimination Act 1992, misleading conduct and private properties liability, being council's public assertion that the Barron Valley Hotel provides public toilets, as reported by the Express in March 2023, which was reportedly made without the hotel owner's consent. The issue of occupational health and safety and the duty of care. I formally request that no action is taken on the Vernon Street amenities while these issues remain unresolved. Why is Archers Creek amenities on the list? This facility is used by locals, markets and visitors, including people from Mount Garnet who now have to travel there because their pool has gone. If closed, this is a public health issue, a dignity issue and a failure of basic services delivery. So I ask, what is council's immediate plan to fix this? Why haven't council discussed this with the local community and the Lions Club who run the markets? Why is Rocky Creek facility on the divestment list? This site supports tourists, campers and travellers. Removing it would directly impact the regional tourist economy. And naturally the community is asking, if public facilities is removed and people are redirected towards private options, who benefits? If there are any conflicts of interest, real or perceived, they must be openly declared now. There appears to be an assumption that the community groups will take over the assets, but realistically, no volunteer group can sustainably manage essential public infrastructure. Not toilets, not pools, not major facilities. Without funding, insurance, compliance and ongoing maintenance. This is not a solution, it is simply shifting responsibility. Priors Creek Park has become a highly contentious issue. There is a strong perception across the region that funds are being concentrated in one project, while other towns are being left behind. People are asking, why are essential services being reduced in some communities while significant money is being spent in this park? That perception must be addressed with transparency. As I've spoken to a vast number of residents and businesses, and one message is consistent. People are frustrated and angry. They are seeing rising rates, increasing wages in the council, more administration staff in the council, while at the same time facilities, roads, infrastructure are not being properly maintained. Council says it cannot afford to maintain community assets, yet the wages bill is around $10 million higher than Mareeba Shire Council and still growing, while at the same time council cries poor. With new management and advisor positions being created, this raises a fundamental question: what are the priorities? There are also questions about whether council plans to build a new council chamber. If so, the community deserves to know the cost, the funding source, and why the existing chambers cannot be maintained or renovated. Again, this comes down to priorities. One of the strongest concerns from the community is consultation. This is a growing belief that it has become selective, limited, and predetermined. Two-tiered consultation favouring special interest groups while excluding the wider community. This must stop now. Skewed surveys with limited options and no real opportunity for input are not consultation, they are a sham, and they do not meet the Local Government Act principles of democratic representation, social inclusion and meaningful engagement. We are asking for a pause, full disclosure, genuine community-wide consultation and proper maintenance of essential infrastructure. Councillors, it is time you recognise who you represent. You represent not special interest groups, not chambers of commerce, but the entire community.
Yeah.
Residents, ratepayers and business owners from across the region are all asking one thing: stop, be transparent and consult the whole community. This is not a small concern. This is your community asking to be heard. Please listen. And finally, mayors and councillors, I submit this petition containing over 2,000 signatures, letters which have been from the council residents referring to opposing council's plans to divest 44 assets, and I request you resolve, in accordance to your standing orders, that the petition be received and referred to the CEO to prepare a report to council to be presented at the May Ordinary Council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Can I just remind presenters that it's really important that we keep to the facts and that we also keep to divestments. Some of the information provided there was not really related to our divestment program at all. It's true. It
Please
wasn't.
elaborate.
Give
us some practice.
Tell us.
The truth then.
This is not a community hall meeting. This is a council meeting. So, can I just ask everyone to be quiet? The only people speaking will be people around the table or the presenter. Or the presenter.
I think it's important, if you're going to make an accusation that something is not true, I think you better elaborate.
Well, I'm not going to respond to every deputation, but this is not a forum where things can be vetted or evidence checked.
You've got no respect for your fucking community whatsoever. At all.
So look, can I just ask for quiet in the gallery, please? And I'll invite the next speaker. Yeah. Just hang on a second, Simon. It won't be a second. Yeah, we'll just get the process right on the petitions. So what I'll do is I'll move a motion that the petition be received and referred to the CEO for consideration or a report to council. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Hayden seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. And now I'll invite Simon Greenwood, who's the president of the Cairns District Powerboat and Ski Club. Thanks, Simon.
Good morning, Mayor Marty, councillors, council officers and members of the public. As mentioned, my name's Simon Greenwood and I'm here today representing the Ski Club as the president. Specifically to talk to the continued divestment engagement with our ski club, as per some of the information we've just heard from the previous speaker. I understand that later on today there is an agenda item that is provides recommendations from council officers to continue engagement with our ski club around the divestment opportunities. And with the information that I present today, I would request that council give serious consideration to perhaps amending that recommendation by council officers and allow our club to continue under its current arrangements, supporting the local community and water skiing fraternity of Lake Tinaroo. Our club first became aware of the proposed divestment engagement for our club and other clubs and facilities within the Tablelands Regional Council area through the Express newspaper article and a subsequent interview that Mayor Marty had with the ABC a couple of days later. Since that information became available to us, I have reached out to Councillor Barty, I hope I pronounced that correct. Yes, thank you. And also some council officers. The intent behind those discussions has been to understand why and what some of the criteria were for our club, specifically to be included on the list of proposed investment assets. Unfortunately, nobody's been able to provide me with any specifics. So the information that I'll be presenting today for council's consideration later on is specifically captured within the Express newspaper article, Mayor Marty, the conversation you had with the ABC, and also the conversations that I've had with Councillor Barty and also Councillor Blake, Blake yesterday afternoon. The other bit of information I'd like to provide is also, I feel, what we believe is the point of difference. So we are co-located within 25 metres of the Tablelands Rowing Club, which is also another non-profit club that has had a presence at Yungaburra and Tinnaburra there for some time. That point of difference, we believe, is simply the fact that their clubhouse is being built a little bit more recently than what ours has. Other than that, for all intents and purposes, both sporting clubs, both non-profit clubs, both clubs providing support to local community. So that'll be some of the information that I'll be providing with the intent for council and councillors to give consideration to amending the recommendation later on today's meeting. A little bit of history about our club for those of you that don't know too much about us. Our club, yes, we are called the Cairns District Powerboat and Ski Club. We were formed initially in 1954 down in Cairns, hence the name. So our club has been an incorporated club for over 70 years. Our club formed its presence at its current location at our clubhouse in 1982. So we've had a physical presence down at Tinnaburra for 44 years. During that 44 years, or I said even before we start the 44 years, our club was fully funded by ski club members, and constructed by our members and their friends. So at no stage has there ever been any grants or support or in-kind support from government, whether that be federal, state or local. So from a financial perspective, zero burden to the ratepayers of Tablelands Regional Council, not only in the construction of our facility, but the ongoing operation and maintenance of that facility. Through that period, we've also been responsible for all utility outgoings. So that means, again, we're not costing ratepayers around water rates, utilities, curbside collection. We've been responsible for paying for that for the entirety of its life. So for 44 years, we have been maintaining and operating the club at zero cost to ratepayers. And as I said, as I've just mentioned before, all of the other outgoing utilities. Again, some of these lead to the points that were raised within the Express newspaper about concerns around these assets costing local ratepayers. Any improvements, repairs and maintenance have also been funded by our club at 100%. And at no stage in the 44 years or even the 70 years since our inception has our club received any grants outside of donations and fundraising made internally through our members. Further to add to this, we do have yearly inspections that are undertaken by Tablelands Regional Council officers, and that's part of the agreement that council have had in place with us. To date, we've had no reports or recommendations by those council officers for repair or improvements to our facilities. So again, demonstration to the ratepayers and to council here today that we do maintain and keep our facility in good working order so that it doesn't pose a burden to anyone within the council. The clubhouse continues to provide significant benefit not only to the water skiing fraternity, but also, given that it's aged, one of the things that was raised, I think, within the newspaper was the depreciation cost to council. Given that it is 44 years of age, we would suggest that it is either fully depreciated already and therefore providing no additional burden and provides a strong positive asset to the region. A little bit about the utilisation of our clubhouse. We are tucked away a little bit and perhaps a lot of people within the community and councillors aren't aware. We have currently on our books in excess of 100 active members with about 200 that are more passive with regards to their support of the club. The utilisation for our clubhouse over the last 12 months has been 42 weeks out of the entire year, so 10 weeks where we haven't had somebody or some club utilising our facilities there. Look, I do understand that there perhaps is a perception within the community that the Waterski Clubhouse is just for those friends of the club or the club members. Perhaps that's because I'm only the second president of the club, so it stands to reason that I know the majority of our club members extremely well. I've been in place for about 25 years. Now let me reassure you all here today, and councillors present, it is definitely not a mates club, and that's for sure. And I can demonstrate that in that since our formation at our current location, we have provided support to the local community groups and other non-profit clubs. For example, upon the formation of the Yungaburra Play Group, they utilised our facilities at zero cost for the first 5 years of their formation. So that was 1 day a week, every week for 5 years. So again, demonstration of our community support and the value that we provide directly to the community at no cost to council or its ratepayers. Some of the other benefits and other non-for-profit clubs that utilise our facilities regularly include the Ash Memorial Fishing Club, who this year I believe raised in excess of $3,000 for their worthy cause. The Yungaburra Triathlon, the Cairns Fishing Club, the Goonva Fishing Club will be utilising the facility this weekend. They expect to have over 200 members that will be staying up here on the Tablelands, spending money not only in accommodation but going out and buying fishing equipment. They're purchasing all their food and drinks locally as well to support the local retail outlets. The Cairns Surf Lifesaving Club, the Northern Region Barefoot Club and the Peninsula Cross Country. What might also be lesser known is that our club has shower and toilet facilities, and we share those facilities with the adjacent Ryan Club who don't have any of those themselves. That arrangement started about 7 years ago, and in that 7 years our ski club has covered all cleaning, stocking, maintenance, water and electricity expenses associated with this arrangement. Any repairs to leaky taps and toilets we've undertaken ourselves again at no cost to the ratepayers or to council. The community benefits, apart from those that I've just listed with regards to, so no cost to any non-for-profit club that ever comes to our place, $0. So there's no, it's all in kind. We're supporting other clubs that are there to help the community and help their members. We are a non-for-profit volunteer organisation with over 40 years presence here locally, 70 years in total in the broader Tablelands region and also the Cairns region. Some of the economic benefits that not only our members bring, but the other non-for-profit clubs bring to the community is the support of local businesses, including service stations, supermarkets, butchers, cafes, hotels, restaurants and retail shops. Mayor Marty, if I may be so bold, you may remember when the dam has been closed on different occasions, the impact that people coming along, not only just water skiers, but people attending the area has to the local businesses in the area. The absence of a physical clubhouse means, in the absence of a physical clubhouse or presence of our ski club down at Tinnaburra, means that potentially members and other non-for-profit communities would be looking at spending their money elsewhere, not necessarily just in the region. Significantly impacting the discretionary spend that the local community receives in having non-for-profit groups and community members such as ours in the area. Not only that, an active ski club advocates and having a physical presence in the location ensures that the broader Tinaroo Dam has continued economic benefits through our club supporting and promoting the water sports facility of Lake Tinaroo. I couldn't tell you, this is my first council meeting. I've had a number of council meetings with council officers over the years, but we've also been heavily involved in working with the Harbour Master with regards to safety on Tinaroo. There was a Tinaroo Lake Management Plan that was done early 2000s. We were heavily involved within that. And again, Sunwater more recently, where Sunwater proposed to have certain areas closed down. So again, without our club there, we're providing a voice to the continued ongoing use of Lake Tinaroo. Social benefits, look, in our view, the club promotes family participation, youth involvement and healthy outdoor lifestyles. So in closing, we would like to think that the information that we've run through here today addresses the concerns that have been flagged within the Express newspaper, the information that Mayor Marty spoke about with the ABC and my conversations with some of the local council officers. As we mentioned at the start, we would request that councillors here today seriously consider amending the resolution that's being recommended to council officers to continue the divestment engagement process, and we would formally request that council pass a motion that allows our club to continue to operate as we have been and to continue to support not only the water skiing fraternity but also the broader fraternity and community of the Tablelands region. Just so for those that didn't know what I passed out at the start, it was a letter that has been formally tabled at council earlier this year. It is just a copy of that there, and it contains pretty much all the information that I've run through today. Thank you, Mayor Marty. Thank you, councillors.
Thanks, Rick.
Please opportunity to ask a question.
Yeah, you can ask a question, please.
Yeah, please. Simon, what's your existing arrangement? Do you have a lease or a license over it?
A user agreement.
Just a user agreement?
Yes.
Okay, so, I know there's been a lot of misconception about the divestment process and whatnot. And I've publicly said that I haven't entirely agreed. I agree with divestment. I haven't agreed with the actual process. But what I wanted to ask you is that the motions on the book today is just for another step in that process to start engagement with the user groups of these facilities. Now, you don't have to answer me if you don't want, but would it, everything that you've just said, that you're doing everything now, you pay for everything, it doesn't cost council anything, or et cetera, and that's great, and that's really good. So, as part of the engagement with you guys with council, if the engagement turned out to be that you formally take it on to allow us to take it off our books, nothing would change from what you've just said. So it'd just be a formal arrangement with council that would allow us to divest it from being on our books, being on your books. Would you not find that acceptable?
So there's probably a lot of questions even within that one. So from a taking ownership perspective, I would assume that with that comes the payment of rates. We just had our valuation sent through for the land that council owns. We don't own the land. So the clubhouse, and effectively we don't own the clubhouse either, but we've self-funded it for 44 years. But as part of the agreement is if we were to walk away tomorrow, council does own the asset at the end of the day. To get back to the rates, valuation was $1 million. There is no way any small non-for-profit club could afford rates on $1 million. So that would be something as part of the divestment. If we were to continue down that path, definitely we would need to talk to council around that. But let's say it was $10,000 a year. there is no way.
I mean, I appreciate what you said.
Yeah.
And that you hadn't brought that up before, but, I mean, council does have a race concession policy for not-for-profit organisations, and I would assume that would have to come into the mix during your negotiations. So,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, you know, even if you had to pay a portion of rates, would that not be acceptable?
Oh, look, potentially is an option, I guess. One of the things that I didn't cover today that I did have in my mind was, I think in the agenda item reading ahead, it is noted that the further engagement with community groups will come at a cost to council. And I go, you want to save money, take us off the list, and there's been a lot of meetings, and you know, we are talking multiple consultations. I reckon we could save you a couple of grand straight off the bat by taking us off the list today, if I'm being frank. Like, happy to have those, and we have, as a club, and me personally as the president, we have gone through changes with regards to lease agreements onto user agreements, multiple changes throughout 44 years that we've had there. But that's only when it's sort of come about because of a requirement. Understand that the council is looking to save money. I go, if you leave us as we are today, continue zero costs, operating and maintenance, and no further costs with regards to engagement. $0 impact to your ratepayers. 2 years time, happy to talk about other things, or even 12 months time, but immediate saving today could be achieved.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
But sorry. Yeah. We've always been open door with regards to changes. I just think that there's probably a better opportunity elsewhere to focus now for council and for the ratepayers.
Thank you. Now, could I call Ray Mitchell to talk about the Archer Creek rest area?
Right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for the opportunity to present this today. Mine's a lot shorter than some of the others, so it won't take too long. My name's Ray Mitchell. I'm the secretary of the Ravenshoe District Lions Club. I'll just go through this and opportunity for questions again. So Archer Creek Rest Area, for those who don't know, is located about 20 kilometres west of Ravenshoe along the Kennedy Highway in the Tablelands Regional Council area. It's easily accessible for all vehicles, including camper vans, camper trailers, motorhomes. It's got large grassy areas suitable for tents, big rigs. It's a favoured location for local families to picnic and swim in the summer months. The toilet block is well used by travelling public, campers, community members and people that attend the monthly Archer Creek markets, which is coordinated by our Lions Club. The Lions Club of Ravenshoe is a small not-for-profit club that raises money which is donated to community, state and national programs and projects. Our club tries to give back to the community groups and individual members as much as we're able to do so. The monthly Archer Creek markets is one of our regular community activities, helps bring the community together while raising a modest amount of money to assist to support our community. The toilet block at Archer Creek is currently managed and maintained by the TRC, with the Lions Club doing some minor maintenance, cleaning, replenishing of toilet paper, etc. on market days. The toilets are well patronised by market goers on market day, as well as the travelling public, campers and community members taking advantage of the Archer Creek rest area. Every day there's someone there using it. The number of campers and day users varies throughout the year, with the busy season for campers and travellers mainly between May and October. Fuel costs may affect that a little bit. There's been, on a lot of weekends or even some days, there's been 45 to 50 campers there, overnight campers at any one time during peak times. During summer, there are lots of locals that use the rest area for family picnics, and it's a favourite and fairly safe swimming spot. The Archer Creek Rest Area toilet block is on the list of assets to be considered for divestment. We request that this decision be reversed, as the asset is much needed by the community, travelling public, short-term campers and the Archer Creek monthly market. The removal of the toilet block could lead to accumulation of human waste, which can contaminate the surrounding area, resulting in unsightly pollution, the risk of spread of disease, other health issues, and environmental and human impact on health. The toilet block at Archer Creek. If the toilet block at Archer Creek was to be taken over by the Lions Club, it would be a drain on our limited resources, and money raised by the club would need to be redirected to the management and maintenance of this facility and limit the assistance that we currently provide to the community and other Lions programs and projects. The amenities block at Archer Creek Rest Area is needed and should remain and be managed and maintained by the TRC, so this valuable asset can continue to be used by the local community and the wider public. Mayor and councillors, I submit a petition containing 364 signatures from residents and community members that use Archer Creek. I request you to resolve in accordance with your standing orders that this petition be received and referred to the CEO to prepare a report to council to be presented at the next ordinary meeting. Thank you.
So councillors, I'll actually move a motion that we receive and refer this petition regarding the Archers Creek facilities to the CEO for consideration or report to council. Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Spanos, seconding. Those in favour? Carried. That's 7. Thank you. So that brings to an end our deputations for this morning. So item 10, the mayoral minute. I've got 2 items today, councillors. I'll first take this opportunity to thank those people who made deputations today related to council's important divestment journey. Your presence and message will form part of our broader engagement with the community and the many groups within. We have more than 700 built assets in an LGA that has 13,500 ratepayers. This means that every 19 ratepayers are funding a built asset without taking into account their existing commitments to our road network, rubbish collection, disposal, public toilets, libraries, parks. Then there's electricity, water, and of course the additional major upgrades to many of these assets as they age. We have a footprint of 11,000 square kilometres, while an LGA like Ipswich has just 1,000 square kilometres. Many of our 150 community groups seek and receive assistance from council in various ways. The numbers don't stack up. Ratepayers simply can't afford to continue to own and restore everything. Since amalgamation of the 3 former shires in 2008, TRC has never conducted an asset review. Since 2008, we have added to these assets, but not strategically assessed the many inherited assets that are now seriously aged. Built asset divestment does consist of various options. Retain the building and commit funding the maintenance to ensure its condition is assured for the longer term. Sell the building to a relevant community group. Gift the building to a relevant community group. Negotiate for state buildings to be handed back to them to maintain, or for the state to support handing over the building to a relevant community group. Long-term lease of building to a proven entity. Decommission the building with withholding further maintenance costs until the end of its life. And finally, demolish buildings that are beyond retrieval. For land divestment, there are significant benefits. Council has substantial land holdings, many of which have the potential to deliver housing and accommodation opportunities during a housing crisis like no other. Many of the identified lots are residential infill, which reduces developer costs, helps underpin our growth, and ultimately adds to council's modest ratepayer base. Not only will there be revenue from selling land assets, there will be a decrease in operational expenses where council may have been mowing vacant land for years. Our divestment strategy is also reflected by our state and federal governments seeking to strategically unload their assets, like the Department of Defence's recent announcement of Atherton's land holdings as an example. Finally, I'd like to make it clear that the divestment journey that TRC is undertaking is in no way a remarkable one. Rather, it's a necessary undertaking of a responsible council. It's one that every council must undertake as part of the commitments to due diligence and sustainability. The journey reflects every council's responsibility to assess assets. We just haven't done it before. It's a timely, required and sound investment for council and community. The second matter that I'll share with councillors this morning is the regional advocacy with the FNQ ROC. Last week, 9 mayors and the FNQ Regional Organisation of Councils convened in Brisbane to meet with ministers and members of the state government, the opposition and the crossbench. It was a highly valuable opportunity to impress on the government those regional issues of Far North Queensland requiring urgent attention and investment. Premier Crisafulli and the Deputy Premier and other ministers were generous with their time, and those face-to-face conversations represent an important part of the advocacy dossier for this region we call home. Deputations were held with ministers from departments including but not restricted to Transport and Main Roads, Primary Industries, State Development, Infrastructure and Planning, Local Government, Housing, Public Works, Natural Resources and Mines, Tourism and Environment, Education and the Arts. A copy of that advocacy agenda is available to councillors. I did want to have one here today, but I've lent it to someone and I haven't got it here this morning, but I'll have that available for councillors. Sure. Finally, I commend the ROC executive for facilitating the program and all the mayors for their efforts in strongly advocating for our region. It was a very valuable trip. I'll move that the mayoral minute be accepted. Those in favour? Carried. That's 7. So that brings us to item 11, councillors, 11.1, the Chief Executive Officer Report, April 2026. I'll hand over to the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through the Chair. I'm pleased to present the Chief Executive Officer Report for April 2026 Ordinary Meeting of Council. This report
Sorry, could you speak up, please?
Would you like to come and sit closer to the front?
No, I'm here and I can't hear either. All up the back.
There are more seats at the front. There are more seats.
Yeah, we need to
Look
hear
how many
this.
of us there are.
Oh,
We're not mumbling.
We're not mumbling.
Yeah, talk up.
Thank you. Budget preparations for the 26-27 financial year are underway, with many sessions scheduled for councillors from next week. Part of the work involves setting rates for the financial year and determining priorities based on what ratepayers can afford. Sorry, while I speak, would you mind, if you would like to listen?
We can't hear you.
Would you? I'm happy for you to come and sit closer.
But all of us, we can't.
Yeah.
There's no room.
Thank you.
Nicole, can I suggest that you stand here and read from your notes and then we can hear you?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually going to, this is an ordinary meeting and this is our usual format. I'm happy to speak louder though.
Sure.
Are you happy with that?
That's fine.
Can you
Have
give
got
me
a
the thumbs up?
microphone or something?
Can you hear me?
If you speak and articulate clearly, I can, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And what I might do, I'm going to have 2 bellwethers. I'm going to have Mick in that corner and I'm going to have you. If you can't hear me, just pop your hands up.
We can now.
You can? Excellent, thank you very much. So the current year was Council's most challenging budget yet, as we brought 9-figure estimations for the replacement of critical infrastructure and planned water infrastructure onto our 10-year capital work program. We said that the way Council needs to do business needed to change, particularly as we've got a very small ratepayer base, a lot of infrastructure, and we're spread over more than 11,000 square kilometres. I'm very pleased with the efforts of and success to date in turning our financial position around, and the numbers speak for themselves. It's been a whole of organisation approach, putting plans in place and enacting those plans to ensure financial and operational sustainability for our current ratepayers and our future ratepayers. With respect to Council's response to the Middle East crisis challenges, early in April I stood up the crisis management team in response to significant global volatility due to the conflict in the Middle East. For us, and just so you're aware, that generally extends to things like fuel costs. The CMT, which is the crisis management team, operates within the Council's business continuity framework and assumes responsibility for corporate functions during a disruption and supports and aligns with the local disaster management group where required. A number of measures have been introduced across the organisation to protect the predicted and much needed surplus. So most of you would be aware we've been undergoing a Queensland Treasury, which is Council's bank, has been assessing our capacity for credit and our capacity to borrow for the infrastructure. And we're also planning for all, I'll just wait a moment, thank you, for all eventualities, including how we will maintain and deliver critical services in the event that the situation deteriorates. Should any measures that we plan have the potential to impact on services we provide to the community, we'll keep the community well informed in advance, but planning is well underway. A few initiatives that we've got across our region: we've got a free breakfast for Tableland volunteers as part of National Volunteer Week. So on Friday the 22nd of May from 7 till 9 a.m, we'll be providing a free breakfast for our Tablelands volunteers. It'll be in front of the Atherton SES headquarters. So please feel free to drop in, have a chat and have some breakfast, and all volunteers are welcome. The Women's Initiative for Skills and Empowerment will have some free workshop programs. So they're called WISE programs. It's an important initiative designed to support women across the Tablelands to build confidence, strengthen skills and explore local career pathways. If you're new to the workforce, rejoining it after a break, or ready for a career change, this is for you. So please get on our website to have a look at the WISE programs. Applications for the Tablelands Galleries 2027 exhibitors will close soon. So each year we host an incredible program of exhibitions across our galleries, and we seek applications from artists and curators to present their work. Applications are encouraged from artists and curators at all stages of their practice from across our diverse Tablelands community, and this includes our First Nations people and culturally and linguistically diverse people. So applications are closing for the 2027 Galleries program, and the deadline is 5 p.m. on Monday, 11 of May this year. And if you'd like more information, please have a look at the TRC's website. Did everyone hear? Was that nice and clear?
Yes.
Excellent.
Do we have any questions for the CEO? Do we have a mover and seconder to receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's report? Councillor Bilney and Councillor Spanos. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Okay, that brings us to 11.2. Thanks, Yvette. So 11.2, asset divestment, outcomes of due diligence. I'll hand over to Yvette. Thank you.
Good morning, councillors. Through the chair, I'm pleased to present this report to the council. Since the adoption of the Community Facility Strategy in 2019, TRC has been committed to ensuring our assets deliver genuine public value and remain financially sustainable for our ratepayers. Following community feedback in late 2025, Council endorsed a robust asset divestment methodology to objectively assess our facilities and land. At the ordinary meetings in January and February this year, Council resolved to investigate the divestment of 44 community assets and 63 land parcels. We have now completed the necessary legal and operational due diligence for these properties. A specific subset of parcels is presented in this report for formal decision today. These include 23 vacant lots to be sold by public tender, where broader community engagement is not required, as their divestment aligns with our strategic goals of regional economic development, housing availability, and financial sustainability. Additionally, it's proposed to gift the Atherton Community Kindergarten a portion of land to support local early childhood education services. The Halloran's Hill Observation Building is proposed to be offered via public tender for a trustee lease, ensuring this iconic site is activated for community benefit. The unused Ravenshoe Judo Hall is proposed for public tender for the removal of this building from the land. Vacant land in Atherton is recommended for sale to an adjacent landholder. A parcel of land is suggested for dedication as road reserve, and another is proposed to have part of the land dedicated for public road, with the balance of the land to be sold by public tender, as well as a proposal not to dispose of TRC's trustee interest in part of the Lake Tinaroo foreshore to preserve public access to the lake. For other community assets and facilities, including clubhouses, halls, storage sheds and accommodation, it's proposed to now move into a dedicated phase of stakeholder engagement. In line with the endorsed methodology, TRC officers now propose to begin meaningful discussions with current users and broader stakeholders. Our goal is to explore all available options for these assets to ensure the best outcomes for the groups that use them and the community at large. These assets will be brought back to Council for a final decision later this year once this consultation is complete. Thank you, Council.
Thanks, Yvette. Any questions for Yvette on this one? Councillor Lang?
Just some clarity, because you just actually answered the question I was going to ask, just so everybody else is aware, specifically the club, the ski clubhouse and Archers Creek amenities. They have the consultation with those community groups. Nothing is final until it comes back to council. So if they say, sorry, we cannot afford that, then you come back to us and then we see what else we can do for them. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Hayden?
So through the chair, so if an asset is on the divestment list and perhaps becomes obsolete, does the community asset still be serviced by the council as required?
If it's council's resolution that the asset be deemed obsolete, and then if council's intention is that council officers be responsible for the maintenance of that asset until the end of its useful life, that is correct, we would maintain it, but we would not undertake renewals for that asset.
Councillor Barty?
Just on item 10, where it has, in relation to the options available for other community assets and land under consideration, including but not limited to those set out in table 2, what does that refer to?
Thank you, Councillor. So as you're aware, not all the assets and land parcels that council previously resolved to undertake a legal due diligence on are included in this report. That is because further appropriate internal activities need to be undertaken, whether it be to propose to undertake a precinct review for some precincts, which is a broader body of work that will be required, which is independent of this divestment process. Other possibilities include that council may seek to just deem an asset to be obsolete and then only maintain it until at the end of its useful life, and it's not appropriate at this stage to bring those assets to council for a decision today.
So those assets will come, that will come.
All those assets will come before council for a formal decision, but just not at this point in time.
Thanks very much. And final call, questions for Yvette? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang moving. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hayden?
Can I flag that I have an alternative?
You can flag that you've got an alternative, yeah. I'll just see if Councillor Lang wants to talk.
Not as far as I'm concerned, this is well overdue. We need to do this for our community, for the future community as well.
Yep. We might come back to you, Councillor Hayden. So Councillor Barty, you'd like to flag an alternative recommendation?
Yeah, my alternative is that proposed resolution 5 regarding the disposal of vacant land parcels be amended to remove reference to lot 10 on RP 901633, also known as 43 Irvine Street, Curai, which is commonly known as the Tom Johnson Park, and that proposed resolution 10 be amended to reflect inclusion of this lot for community engagement prior to any decision to dispose of the land.
So councillor Barty's flagging that she's got an alternative if this one doesn't get up. Anyone else like to talk? Councillor
Just through the chair, can I clarify with councillor Barty that in essence, the officer's recommendation is still supported with the removal of that particular block in Currai, which is in placing it in table 2, so that community consultation can occur. That's the only.
That's correct, yeah.
Acknowledging the significance.
Still material, so be an alternative. But it would be easy to get an alternative.
Anyone, councillor Cardew?
Yeah, thanks. I won't be supporting the officer's recommendation as it stands because I support the alternative to take the 43 Irvine Street out of the first table and put it into the second table for consultation. Secondly, after hearing the deputations today, especially with the ones for the ski club and the Archers Creek amenities, I'm just getting the message, especially from the Archers Creek deputation, is that the Lions Club, because I was always of the view that the Lions Club might be in a position to take on the management and the running of the facility, and perhaps charge campers a gold coin donation or something in order to, help fund that. But from listening to what was said today, they're not in a position to do that. So, and I'm not in favour of knocking it down, that's for sure. I believe it's a critical asset required for that camping area. So, having listened to that one for Archers Creek, I'd be looking to take that off the list. And with regards to the ski club, I'm of the understanding that the ski club, the clubhouse itself is constructed on freehold land. So, if that's, am I correct in saying that, Yvette? So, like, I hear what the deputation said. It doesn't cost us anything at the moment, and yes, the status quo may or may not remain, but I still think there's a little bit of an opportunity to enter into discussions with the club to see if they can come up, see if they can come up with an agreeable way forward that you do take ownership of it and look after it, and as you do now, and get it off our books. So there's an opportunity there, I think. There's no decision being made today about getting rid of anything. It's about putting these things up for consultation with the user groups. So
Councillor Cardew, I think these are both in table 2. So all we're doing here today is saying we're going to talk to those groups. That's all we're doing. So
I understand that.
We're going to talk.
I understand that, Mayor, but I'm supporting moving 43 Irvine Street out of table 1 over to table 2, and I'm also recommending that we, after hearing the deputation about the Archers Creek amenities block, removing it from table 2.
I'll go to the
I'm sorry, I might just speak. So we can't consult with the groups in table 2 until we have a resolution that we can start that consultation. We've had 2 deputations that are relevant to assets in table 2. It would be great to start to go back to them to see what they're interested in. We actually can't do that until we get a resolution about those items on table 2. So you've said, oh, if we go back and have a chat, well, that would be fantastic. But that's for those table 2 items, the next step is that consultation, but we need a resolution to go to that next step. For everything on 2.
I understand that.
Yeah. But we shouldn't take it off table 2 because that means we can't go back and actually meet with them and say, what's your thoughts? The first time they heard that the option for the ski club that they could potentially take it on was here. They haven't given any thought to it, which is reasonable because they only just heard it here. To remove it means we can't actually go back and have conversations with them. So table 2 is just about consultation starting.
Thank you. I'm fully aware of that. I'm fully aware that by the resolution today, we'll allow officers to go back and consult.
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting is that from the deputation, especially with the amenities, Archers Creek amenities, 12 o'clock, the only, in my mind, the only viable user group that would be in position to look after that 12 o'clock would be the Roversay Lions. So I'm proposing to take the Archers Creek amenities block out of the mix.
I'm sorry, we haven't had the conversations yet, so this gives us the chance to then go to the Lions and say, is this something you can and can't do? If you take it off, then there's no consultation at all, and we can't go back to anyone and say, you know, is there something that might benefit you here in terms of, you know, taking this on, etc. So for table 2, this is so we can have consultation. But if you want them removed, that means we're removing them without the opportunity to have consultation with any affected groups.
So just a point of order. So we've got a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation. We've got an alternative recommendation resolution that's been flagged by Councillor Barty. So I think we'll deal with those first. So would anyone else like to talk to the officer's recommendation? It's the one we have a mover and seconder for. Councillor Lang.
As the mover of the original officer's recommendation and hearing Marie's alternative, although I just feel this is just delaying the inevitable, I'm happy to accept Marie's alternative motion.
So not vote up officer's recommendation. So do a vote on it first, and then if it's defeated.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a mover and seconder, so we need to have a vote on it. So those, given what Councillor Lang has just said, those in favour of the officer's recommendation, put your hand up. So there's no one? All right. Okay, so that one's defeated. So it comes to Councillor Barty's. So council's happy to consider an alternative motion? Yes. So Councillor Barty?
Sure, I've read the motion already, but yeah, I would like this piece of land to be included in table 2, just to, I know there's strong community connection to it, and I think it's important to talk to those groups.
Okay, Councillor Barty's moving the alternative motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Spenos seconding. Yeah, would you like to talk to it more, Councillor Barty?
Do you mind if I just point out? Just so for the councillors aware when you vote, so what we've done is we've added an additional resolution there, and then we've changed it, so we've struck it out in table 1, and it will then be moved to table 2, just so you know. So it's essentially the original council officer recommendation, except for the addition to move that lot from table 1 to 2, just so you're aware what you're voting on, because it looks a little bit messy on the screen. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we do. Anyone else need to talk on this before we go to the vote?
Yeah, right. I'd just like to agree with Marie. I think community consultation on that part is probably well made.
All right, we've got a mover and seconder for Councillor Barty's alternative motion. Those in favour? Carried. That's 7. Okay, councillors, so that brings us to 11.3, Delegations, Statutory Bodies, Financial Arrangements Act 1982. I'll pass over to Yvette, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the Chair, I'm pleased to present this report to Council also. In accordance with Section 257 of the Local Government Act, Council has the ability to delegate power to the CEO under various legislation to enable effective management of TRC's operations. Specifically, the Statutory Bodies Financial Arrangements Act of 1982 provides statutory bodies, like local governments, with the power to enter into and perform various financial arrangements. TRC officers recommend the adoption of the LGAQ's model delegations of powers under this Act, which include the power to operate a deposit and withdrawal account with a financial institution, seek the Treasurer's approval to operate a deposit and withdrawal account with an overdraft facility, to borrow money and seek the Treasurer's approval for such borrowing, exercise particular financial investment powers, and to keep records demonstrating Council's investments. The purpose of granting these delegations is not to change the financial administration of TRC, but to ensure that current operations have the appropriate delegations in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Yvette? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Spanos moving, seconder. Councillor Bilney. Would you wish to talk to that, Councillor Spanos? Okay, those in favour? Carried. That's 7. 11.4, Delegations, Planning Act 2016. Begin. Thanks, Yvette.
Thank you. Through the Chair, I'm pleased to present this report to Council. Councils are aware that Council has the ability to delegate various powers to the CEO. In this report, TRC officers recommend the delegation of powers specifically under the Planning Act. The Planning Act establishes a system for land use planning, development assessment that facilitates ecologically sustainable development across Queensland. Whilst TRC has already delegated the power to commence proceedings for a declaration by a tribunal and to take associated actions involved with being an applicant before a tribunal, it is now proposed that TRC adopts additional delegable powers under this Act that are identified in the LGAQ's model delegations. These powers, in the context of a tribunal hearing, would permit TRC to elect to be a co-respondent in an appeal, to provide the registrar with information that the registrar reasonably requires for proceedings, to appear as a party to a tribunal proceeding, to make submissions to that tribunal, and to give notice to the registrar once a tribunal's direction or order has been complied with. The purpose of granting these additional delegations is not to substantially change the way TRC is involved in planning matters, but to ensure that the appropriate delegations are in place to respond to planning appeals before a tribunal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Yvette? Councillor Cardew.
Yeah, but I don't have a problem with the amendment that you're proposing, but the other day in our information session, I talked about removing the responsible entity on page 55 of the report. You were going to have a look at that. What was the outcome of that?
Thank you, Councillor. So I believe the section that you're referring to is section 81, capital A, subsection 2B of the powers. That's to decide to refuse a change application. That is included in the LGAQ's model delegations, which is why it is currently being picked up. I am advised by the planning department that that power is seldom exercised, and if there is ever an officer recommendation to refuse an application, that matter is always brought before council. Practically, it doesn't occur very often. Without that delegation, for example, if council approved a development and the applicant subsequently sought a change of conditions, the officers, if they were to recommend against the adoption of those conditions or the amendment of those conditions, would effectively, without that delegation, have to bring the decision back to council for council simply to reaffirm its previous decision. So operationally, it is a bit cumbersome not to have that delegation, but it is absolutely at the discretion of council if they would like to withdraw that delegation of power.
Councillors, do we have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with a minor amendment to have that clause removed.
Is that a minor amendment?
I actually think it's very minor because it actually impacts negligible.
Yep.
So it doesn't need.
Okay, very good. So we've got a. We've got
Section 81,
Councillor Cardew's
capital
moving.
A, subsection 2, subsection B.
We'll just get that amendment up on the screen.
Planning Act.
Wait, 2, not A.
2, 81,
Capital A.
subsection 2, subsection B. Oh, and that's section, yeah.
Get rid of the subsection A.
Yeah, is that is different to 81A, subsection 2, yeah, and then
That's
subsection B, yeah, that's correct. Planning Act, of the Planning Act, and the year of the Planning Act is 2016.
2016.
Yep.
So is that it? Is that all change?
Yeah.
Very good. So Councillor Cardew is moving an amended motion, and Councillor Bilney.
I've got a question.
A question?
Clarification.
Yeah.
So Eva, in the event a condition's changed or refused by the planning officers, under the proposed policy, it comes to council.
Under the existing delegations of power, there is a Schedule 2, which includes limitations on the exercise of that power, and the current limitations indicate that wherever there's proposed to be a refusal, that matter is brought back to council, so they are brought back to council.
So by doing an amendment like this actually dilutes it coming to council. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, these matters will be brought back to council anyway, so operationally it doesn't make much difference.
Yeah.
And so Councillor Bilney, it's council that imposes the conditions on the applicant. So council officers don't refuse the conditions, and they.
Yeah, but if the recommendation is a refusal.
Yeah.
Is what I meant.
Okay. So have we got the amended motion? Yeah. Need a second. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Vardy's seconding that one. Anyone else like to talk to this one? Councillor Cardew.
Seeing as I moved it, Mayor, thank you. Just for the people in the gallery and those viewing, with all council delegations, and you'll see in the back of the report, there's a table there of what's delegated, what officers can do and what they can't. One of my prime things throughout my time on council is that I agree with delegations, you have to have them for the smooth operation of council. But any time that there's an application of any sort where there's a refusal involved, that refusal should come back to council and not be delegated to officers. Because many times before we've had this in place, where officers have refused something and we're the last to find out about it, and then the proverbial hits the fan. So it's just clearing up and making everything the same for all our delegations, that there are limitations at the end of the delegation that suggest that any refusal must come back to council for a decision. And it's just, by removing this one little section here, it's just being consistent throughout all our delegation policies. Thank you.
Anyone else like to talk to this one? Okay, we've got a mover and seconder, and we've got the motion up on the screen. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 11.5, road transport contractual chain order fuel cost recovery 2026. Thanks, Yvette.
Thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to present this late report to council. Through the chair, I wish to advise council that on the 20th of April this year, the Fair Work Commission issued the road transport contractual chain order. This order requires both primary and secondary parties in a road transport contractual chain to adjust the rate they pay for the performance of work in the road transport industry by the amount necessary to ensure recovery of increased costs of diesel fuel by regulated road transport contractors on and from the 21st of April this year. This order applies to local governments, including TRC. TRC proposes to satisfy the newly created obligations under the order by including rise and fall provisions in all road transport contracts to reflect changes in fuel costs over time. To comply with the order, these adjustments will need to be calculated fortnightly or twice per calendar month and are to be based on the average national terminal gate price for diesel over the relevant period and compared against the diesel price that applied on the 6th of March this year. The order requires that these arrangements continue in effect until the average national terminal gate price reduces to $2 a litre or less, or until such time as the order is reviewed or amended by the Commission. TRC officers recommend that Council note the recent changes to the Fair Work Act and the application of the Road Transport Contractual Chain Order, issued by the Fair Work Commission, which came into effect on the 21st of April. Officers further recommend that if a contract variation is required as a direct result of the operation of the Act or the order, that Council delegate the power to the CEO to approve all such contract variations for fuel cost recovery, provided that the value of each variation is within the adopted capital or operational budget. It's further recommended that we adopt a standardised method of calculation for fuel cost recovery if a contract variation is requested by a contractor as a direct result of this order. This will ensure that all contractors are treated equitably. In recognition that TRC suppliers have been feeling the strain of high fuel prices prior to the date the order came into effect, it's proposed that TRC permit contract variations to apply from the 1st of April instead, rather than the date that the order came into effect. It's also the recommendation of officers that councillors be provided with the details of all contract variations approved under this legislative change in the order by means of the monthly finance report. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Questions? Councillor Barty?
But just that TGP price, it's significantly lower than the Bowser prices, is that correct? And regionally, of course, it's even a bigger difference. Is that just what they?
So maybe if I may through the chair. So obviously, by comparing the TGP price at this point in time to the TGP price at the time of 6 March, the relevant difference is the same as the relevant difference between the higher local prices that were here on the 6th of March. And so relatively, yes, the prices that we use as a benchmark and are required to use as a benchmark under the court order are lower than what they're here locally, but they would have been lower on the 6th of March as well. So relatively, the difference is the same.
And what was the TGV price at the 6th of March?
It was $1.85.5, I think, from memory.
26. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I just wanted to also ask. It only mentions diesel in their quote. We're not applying that to petrol side.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty moving. Councillor Spanos seconding. Those in favour? Carried. That's 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.
Yeah, we might. Councillors, we might take a break for morning tea. So if we reconvene at about 22. Thank you.
Do I get one of those too?
Get two, Con. Hey, I still don't have the details.
Sorry?
You know the text message you sent me? I haven't got the person's phone number.
Oh, okay.
Because it wasn't in any of the,
Wasn't it in there?
no, because you just copied
And sent it.
their text, not.
All right, well, what I'll do is I'll give you his information. I think he's reached out again
Yeah,
anyway.
if you just put his first name and then the number, I'll know what it's about.
All right. I can do that.
Okay, everyone, we'll get started again. There's no placemaking today, so we'll go to 13, infrastructure and environment. Item 13.1, asset divestment process and investigation community update. Pass over to Shane for that. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. Councillors, council manages more than $800 million in assets on behalf of the community, all of which exist to support service delivery and community outcomes. As part of our ongoing commitment to ensuring these assets deliver public value and that council remains financially sustainable, council resolved in January 2026 to commence a structured asset divestment process. While asset review is a standard business practice, this process introduces a more structured and consistent approach to how council assesses its assets. This report forms part of the broader asset divestment program currently underway, with other reports in this meeting addressing specific subset of assets within that process. Council endorsed a 5-stage methodology which provides a consistent, transparent framework to assess each asset on its individual merits. No decisions are predetermined, and council retains the option to invest in and retain assets where this is in the best interest of the community. Following council's resolution, officers have progressed through the initial stages of the process, including identification, resolution, and detailed information gathering. This work ensures that legal, operational, and historical considerations are clearly understood before moving into engagement and recommendation phases. Subject to council's decision today, the next step involves direct engagement with affected user groups and, where appropriate, the broader community. Officers will present outcomes of this consultation to council in a future report to support informed decision-making on each asset. This report keeps council and the community informed of progress to date and to support the transition to the next phase of the process. Mr. Mayor, I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Vilney.
Through the chair, one of the comments you just made is nothing's been predetermined. This is a 5-step, 5-phase process. Item 11.2 was the 3rd phase of the 5 phases. Now we go into phase 4, which is community consultation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, I recall reading in the Mareeba Express a little while ago, front page, TRC to sell 44 assets, which was actually not incorrect. All it was we're going down this process to see what's possible, whether an asset can be sold, gifted, obsoleted, or do nothing. That's what the process is in reality. So when option 4 comes back, which is the consultation with the community, particularly of those ones that are listed in table 2, then the options of those will be then discussed with council for a final determination. Okay, so it's important that community do understand the process and where we're at in that process line, and there's no decisions have been made as of today.
Can I just interrupt and add to that? So part of what councils will also be doing is when you choose to keep an asset, you commit the councils of the future to bring it up to an acceptable level and then to maintain it as well. So that's part of the process as well.
Shane, can you just explain what obsolescence is, just in really simple terms again? I know Yvette touched on it earlier on, but I'm just keen to see where quite a few facilities may actually fit within that outcome potentially.
Yeah, through the chair. So obsolescence is where an asset is deemed to no longer hold value. So it's where it's no longer performing its function. So then you no longer depreciate the asset. If it gets put into obsolescence, you don't renew it. We can maintain it to the end of life. So there would still be in some cases 5 years of a building or an amenity, but we would not renew it at the end of that point. So we would plan long-term for the removal of that eventually.
So if I gave you an analogy, for example, if you've got a shed on a block of TRC land, and if it was to blow over, we would ask ourselves, is it likely that we would replace that? If the answer is no, we can then go into obsolescence. Is that correct? If we're not going to replace it, if we've got no intention of replacing an asset, we can place that item or asset into obsolescence and get the financial benefits of not having to further depreciate or insure in some cases. Is that?
Through the chair, you could adjust the insurance.
Okay, so there's a financial benefit. The facility would still be available for community use and maintained to a minimum standard to end of life. That's we carry it to end of life. Okay.
Very good. Thanks very much. Any more questions for Shane? Look, just before we get a mover and seconder, I just want to add that I'd like to thank and acknowledge Shane, Yvette, and other members of the TRC team who've done an enormous amount of work. I mean, because this is something that TRC has never done in its existence, there was a huge amount of work to get this show on the road. So I'd like to acknowledge the very good work and diligent work of our senior officers who've done a lot of work on this, and there's still much more to go, of course. But yeah, just like to acknowledge them on behalf of all councillors. Can I have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Spanos and Councillor Hayden. Those in favour? Carried, that's 6. Councillor Cardew. Okay, that brings us to 13.2, the Malanda Multi-Purpose Community Facility, site options, analysis, outcome. I'll pass over to you, Tony.
Good morning, everybody. Through the chair, I'm pleased to present this report relating to the project management for the future Malanda Multi-Purpose Facility. In October 2025, Council awarded a contract to APEC Project Proprietary Limited to deliver project management services for the feasibility and planning phases for the future Malanda Multi-Purpose Facility. Phase 1, feasibility of the project, has now been completed. To help inform the site selection options analysis process, community engagement was undertaken. This was done through a public survey and by forming a community working group. Following these investigations, the recommended location for the future Malanda Multi-Purpose Community Facility is on the southeastern side of the arena and sporting fields at the Malanda Showgrounds, in the approximate location of the existing grandstand structure. Overall, this location is considered the most practical, cost-effective and community-focused option identified through the site options analysis process. The location is well placed to support a wide range of community uses, including sporting events, agricultural shows, markets and other gatherings already held at the showgrounds. Its proximity to these established activity areas is expected to encourage greater use of the facility and strengthen the Malanda Showgrounds as a central community hub. Overall, this location is considered the most practical, cost-effective and community-focused option identified through this process.
The report is presented to Council for consideration and endorsement of the recommended site for the future Malanda multipurpose community facility. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Questions for Tanya? Councillor Cardew?
Thanks, Mayor. Does this proposed location still allow for the B-double access around behind it?
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you for the question, Councillor Cardew, and through the chair. Yes, the big double access will be accommodated around the site. There will be probably a portion of road that would need to be reinstated. However, yes, that is part of the planning process.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Tanya? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew is moving and Councillor Lam. You wish to talk to this, Councillor?
No.
Final call, councillors. Those in favour? That's carried. That's 7.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to 13.3, Capital Projects Report, March 2026.
I'll take that one.
Thanks, Mark.
If I may.
I'll pass it over to Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm pleased to report the capital projects report for the period ending in March, 31st of March 2026. This report provides an overview of the financial status of our capital program and progress and status of the individual projects. And it reflects our capital expenses against the adopted budget as revised at the second budget review. I'm pleased to take any questions.
Questions for Mark? Councillor Spanos?
Mark. I'd just like to ask a question. I notice in a lot of these project descriptions and finish dates, and I've noticed a lot of them aren't going to be finished by the end of June, and at risk, and in a lot of cases 50% at risk. I'm just wondering, do we keep kicking this down the road, if you know what I mean? I just feel that I look at things predominantly in my own division for a start, and that's the Merrylands Hall. I do not want us to go down the same track.
No.
The swimming pool, it needs some renewable work done there, and I've noticed they're at risk as well. Just things that are already the public have brought up about other concerns within other parts and divisions of the council. So I just wonder if you can just explain to me what at risk means and where we go from here.
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'll answer them. Thanks to the chair. So at risk can mean many things. So when you project manage projects, obviously the main elements that you try and control are time, cost, and quality, so that you deliver it against the scope that you agreed to, that it is delivered on time, and that it's delivered in accordance with budget and cost that you foreshadowed at the start of the project. But there are other elements as well, making sure that your stakeholders are managed in accordance with the project management plan, and that you comply with legislation and permit requirements and things like that. So there's depending on the type of project, the size of it, there's a lot of elements to manage through project management. So any of those things that are not tracking in accordance with what the initial plan was or what the initial thought was when we started the project or a certain stage of a project, we'll flag that project as being at risk. And that just means that we need to put additional management effort in that project to ensure that we can stay on track again, or that we have to go back to council to say, for example, we estimated the project to cost, let's say, $100,000. We've gone out to tender, public tender, and the lowest price coming back is $110,000. So we need a little bit more money, and then we go back to council to manage that risk by seeking either additional funds or by de-scoping the project or whatever. So at risk just basically means we need to put more effort in the project to make sure we get it back on track again.
I'm just thinking, sorry, thanks for the answer. However, if we keep pushing it out, the costs keep growing as well.
Yeah.
So how does Erica budget for those sorts of things? I mean, do we, I feel if we've got something that we're going to do in a certain year, or try to get done in a
Yeah.
certain year, and then of course it gets pushed out, and then all of a sudden, we're looking for more money.
That could happen. I agree.
There's a chance that will happen.
Obviously, when we start a project and we develop a project schedule with an aim to achieve it in a certain time frame, let's say that's within the financial year, that's what we're aiming for. Unfortunately, there's always circumstances that might impact our ability to meet that time frame. That could be permit requirements that we're not achieving from external parties at the time that we expected them to provide those permits. It could, for example, in the case of Maryland's Horby, that we go out to quotation to have those repairs undertaken, and the prices that come back are just ridiculous. And so we really have to then look at how did we request those quotes. In that case, we also had to go back to the state heritage unit to actually seek a relaxation of the requirement to have a heritage listed bricklayer basically do the job, because that was one of the elements that made it very, very expensive. So that just means that we have to take additional steps to get that confirmation from, for example, an approval agency, and then go out for quotes again. That's obviously not what we aim for at the start of the project, but there's just things that you come across that you potentially can't foresee, or that changes that happen during the project that you have to manage. So we never aim to not deliver on time, but where we have to deliver on time, yes, that could be an impact that the cost increase. So what we then do is through our budget reviews, but also when we develop our budget for the next financial year, we liaise with the finance team, and Erica in this case, to ensure that we've got, for those projects that we expect to continue into the next financial year, that we ensure that there's sufficient budget allocated for those projects so we can finish them. In some cases, if it's a renewal project, so for example, bitumen resealing, we've now recently had an update from our contractor that they may not finish this financial year due to weather conditions, fuel price increases, lack of bitumen supply, things like that. But with those projects, we've got an ongoing renewal program every year. So we don't necessarily then increase the budget next year. We basically just continue with that project from the renewal allocation that we allocated for or proposed to include in the budget for next year anyway. So it depends on the project, how we deal with it. Some projects we might say, oh, well, this is now, the circumstances have changed so much now that we really need to reconsider that project in consideration of all other projects to determine, do we still want to continue with it, or do we want to prioritize something else? And that would always be the discussion and a decision with and a decision by council if that happens. So there's many different circumstances and many different ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, Mike, I appreciate that. My concern is that it just keeps getting away on us, and as it gets away from us, it gets dearer. Yes. There's more budget needed, and that concerns me. I'd like to think that, you know, we've got something that we've got in place, we've started it, it's 50% started, and we're not getting to that finish point. We really need to do that.
Absolutely.
At some stage, you've got to stop and say, hey, we've got to finish this project.
Absolutely. So we have a project management framework with governance systems and processes in place to provide better surety that we manage our projects and that we avoid these things as much as possible. We are continuing to continually making improvements to how we do that. We are also refocusing on. I think in the previous period, there's been a lot of focus on getting that framework in place and matured. And there's been a lot of focus on the governance around projects in the project team, and I'm refocusing the team to ensure that while we do that as well, that we also meet the project outcomes that we set at the start. So back to basics, managing time cost quality is the first priority. Ensuring governance is supposed to support that. That should not be the goal. So a bit of a refocus to try and further improve our opportunities and chances of actually delivering projects on time, at the right quality, and at the right cost.
So we're looking into that.
We've got the same concerns.
Okay, Ross.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for that one.
Do we have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation for 13.3? Councillor Bilney moving and Councillor Lang seconding. Councillor Bilney?
No, nothing from me. I think General Manager's explained the concerns with risk quite adequately.
Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Okay, that brings us to 14, Community and Corporate Services. 14.1, Financial Report, March 2026. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you for receiving the finance report for the month of March 2026. Operating revenue and expense remains on target with a variance of now less than 1%. Our debtor invoices currently have an outstanding balance of 633,000. However, the majority are reflecting current invoices relating to grant claims and development applications. And these invoices are expected to be received after some concerns in that aspect. To the end of March, cash balances remain strong at 62 million. And then within our procurement activities, 3 tenders have closed during the month, with a further 3 tenders opened for the delivery of services and completion of projects. A sole and specialised supplier has been identified this month for pathology services supporting QFIN vaccinations, being the Sullivan Nicolaides Pathology. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Each year, the Department of Natural Resources, Mines, Manufacturing and Regional and Rural Development consider the need for revaluing land within each council region. Part of this consideration includes seeking the opinion of the local government on whether new revaluations are more due. As the Tablelands Regional Council has recently received new land valuations, which will come into effect on 1 July 2026 this year, and property sales do not appear to have significantly changed since the most recent revaluation was conducted, it is recommended that Council's response is that the new revaluation will come into effect in the following year, so 1 July 2027 is not required. While the department considers the opinion of local governments, it is understood that the department will ultimately make their decision based on many factors, including market survey results, weather events, market movements, and which may result in the outcome that differs from Council's opinion. The last 3 officer recommendations on today's report are for the reallocation of unspent capital budget funds to replace an electricity pole in the Atherton Cemetery following a defect notice, so that one needs replacing. Reallocate grant funds to the repairing and restoration, ensuring the use of all available grant funds, so no cost to council, just making sure we utilise all the funds that have been allocated. And to repair the Bravery Road wall following lightning strike damage earlier this year. So this one is actually expected to be supported by insurance coverage, but we need to make those repairs and the claim is underway. This concludes my summary for the March finance report. I'm happy to take questions.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Barty?
Erica, in relation to the pathology provider, if another provider does set up on the Tablelands, how does that affect the sole provider?
We consider, so each year we do, thank you, so through the chair. Each year we consider all the companies that are listed on our sole and specialised supplier list and make adjustments at that time. And we can consider any changes that happen throughout the year as well.
Right, thank you.
Any more questions for Erica? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang moving, Councillor Hayden. Those in favour? Carried. That's 7. 14.2, Q3 Quarterly Performance Report 2025-26. Thanks, Alex. Over to you.
Thank you, mate. Through the chair, good morning, Mayor and councillors. Good morning. I'd like to present to you the quarterly report for January to March 2026. Overall, the report shows very strong service delivery across council with 5,604 CRMs created across the quarter. 99% of all calls were answered, and high level of resolution at first point of contact as well. The report provides a clear snapshot of where we're tracking well, but also areas that we need to improve on as well. Happy to answer any questions where I can, otherwise I'll take back and respond accordingly. Thank you.
Any questions for Alex? Councillor Vardy?
Alex, on page 130, there's a CRMs by a work group from 1st of January to 31st of March, little diagram. I'm just wondering, where does Parks and Gardens sit within that particular?
I can probably get back to you on that one.
That'd be great.
That's okay. Yep.
Yep.
Questions, councillors? Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Vardy's moving, and Councillor Spannels. Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Thanks, Alex. 14.3, Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, 16 March 2026. I'll go to Hilary on that one. Thanks, Hilary.
Thank you, and through the chair, I'm pleased to present the unconfirmed minutes of the March 16, 26 Audit Risk and Improvement Committee meeting. The committee meets 4 times a year and is led by our independent chair, Vivek Chopra. The committee demonstrates our commitment to compliance and robust governance. Our recently refreshed reporting program provides comprehensive oversight, and this agenda considered a range of matters, including project management and cyber security, in addition to all the required reporting elements. It also included an update on our internal audit projects, which are being undertaken by KPMG. Those projects for this year are the fraud and corruption assessment, the report for which is now in its final draft, and the waste levy calculation project, which is currently in field work. Both of these projects will be finalised and the outcomes reported to our June committee meeting. This report underscores the role of the committee in fulfilling statutory obligations through independent oversight, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for the General Manager? No? A mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation, Councillor Bilney and Councillor Spanos. Wish to say anything?
No, nothing for me.
Those in favour? Carried, that's 7. Okay, Councillor Kaji, you had some notices of some business without notice there that we'll follow up for you. It was Menthy Road and was it road maintenance?
They didn't say, that's why what road maintenance, that's the question.
I haven't brought it up yet.
Oh, well, you sent it through. I was just reading off the
I just sent you through a heading.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm happy to speak to them.
Yeah.
I just wanted a quick update from the engineer. Mark, is where we are with the reconnection of Menthy Road to Turpin Drive or Bella Street East. I know you put in a reply to my query at the last council meeting. Thank you. I just want a further update. It's been a month since then because the design event was completed. You're just waiting on a contractor or something.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that on notice. That's actually managed through the development team, the placemaking team. So I'll have to check in with them to see what the last status is.
Yeah. And the bit about road maintenance, I might just leave that. I might include that in the RMTC stuff. That's in confidential. I might mention it then.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. So we'll go into confidential. So can I have a mover to go into confidential? Councillor Vardy. Councillor Spanos. Right. Yeah. I think I've read this first. Confidential. In accordance with section 254J(3) of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the meeting will close at this part of the meeting to the public for the reasons and matters noted. The reasons. These reports are confidential in accordance with section 254J(3) of the Local Government Regulation 2012, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for business relating to the following. 17.1, routine maintenance performance contract 2026/28, 2 years. The reasons are industrial matters affecting employees. The next one is the local government's budget. And the third one, negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. For item 17.2, which is T00343, dry hire of plant, TRC landfills and transfer stations, that reason there is G, which is negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. And they're the only two items we have in confidential. So we've got a mover and seconder. Those in favour of going into confidential? Carried, that's 7. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, RMPC contract, RMPC.
Is anyone left out there? No.
Yes, it's coming back.
You can, you're actually allowed to look at the screen now.
No, I can't see it.
Just as well, just as well.
Can't read bloody newspapers, let alone look through that.
That's all right.
Agreement.
And we all look a lot younger.
We all look a lot younger, I'm an exception then, aren't I?
Okay, councillors, we're back live. So we'll go to 17.1, routine maintenance performance contract 2026/28 for 2 years. I'll read out the officer's recommendation. That Council 1, approve the formal submission of tender to notice to tenderers number 1, CN 26715, FN RMPC 2026-2028, Tablelands Regional Council, closing Friday 15 May 2026 at 12 p.m. 2, subject to the Department of Transport and Main Roads outcome, resolved to enter into an agreement CN 26715 with the Department of Transport and Main Roads to provide routine maintenance performance contract services for 2026-2028. 3, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009 to negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with the routine maintenance performance contract. Can we have a mover and seconder of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang moving and Councillor Billman. Those in favour? Carried, that's 5-2. And that's Councillor Cardew and Councillor Barty. Okay, that brings us to 17.2. T00343 dry hire of plant TRC landfills and transfer stations. The officer's recommendation is that Council 1, award contract T00343 dry hire of plant to Northwest Services Proprietary Limited under the terms and conditions of the contract for supply of plant, 2 compactors, 1 forklift, 1 loader, 1 track mounted skid steer and 1 mini loader for $1,078,840 excluding GST for a period of 24 months with the option to extend for a further 12 months at Council's discretion. And 2, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer in accordance with the Local Government Act 2009 to enter into contracts, negotiate, finalise and execute any and all matters associated with or in relation to this contract, subject to Council's procurement practices and policies and within the constraints of Council's adopted budget. Can I have a mover and seconder of that one, please? 17.2. Is that Councillor Hayden? Did you put your hand up?
I didn't put my hand up.
Sorry. Can we have a mover and seconder? The bill needs moving. And Councillor Vardy. Thank you. Those in favour? Okay, that's carried, that's 7. Okay, councillors, the next meeting will be the 28th of May. And he will close the meeting.
Curiosity, how old you?